Welcome back to another day at the TTHQ. This morning I went to Wright's Tools to get some supplies. And today I believe Harry from Truck and Sands is coming down because I don't know if I got trust issues. Make sure I'm still getting on with it or not, I don't know. In the back here, the cross members we pressed up last night at Transtech. So that means one thing, it's go time. Nothing stopping us today. So by the end of the day, I want the cross members in. I want the chassis pushed up into place, roughly where it's going to be, ready for measuring and setting up. Measuring and setting up is a two-man job. It involves a tape measure being run across the chassis many of times to get the squares and lengths all right. So, as Harry's coming down today, I'm sure he's capable of holding a tape measure for me. So we'll give it a go, I think, if I can get the cross members in sharpish. But the issue I do have, the drawings they had for the cross members wasn't for the steel leaf spring suspension setup. So these holes in the spring hanger, spring helper holes, sorry, these ones, aren't actually in the ends, but the dimensions are right, so I can cope with that. That's going to help me out massively, but at least I can get going on it now. So I think what I'm going to do, see what holes work, what holes won't work. So anyway, I'll get everything in out the van. So when I was at Wright's this morning, I bought a gravity-fed spray gun. Yes, it's Sealy, it's not the world's best spray gun. However, I'm spraying a chassis that no one's ever going to see ever again, and on top of that, I'm not a sprayer. So if that changes the colour from that to Scania chassis grey, mission success in my eyes. I also bought some universal maintenance spray. Pretty much same as a WD-40. I also got LD90 leak detector spray. Now this is very important for our gas bottles. When you put a regulator in, it could leak gas through there. When you put that non-return through there, the flashback in there, you could have a leak there, you could have a leak there, you could have a leak on these gauges. And here on the flashback you got one there, and then one there, and then on the guns itself, on there and there. Or slang terms, as someone said in the comments, which is right, gas axe. You switch your gas on, spray that, and if it's leaking it bubbles. And then the reason I'm doing that is we've not got much oxygen left. I know I've used it quite a bit on this job, but I'd like to have thought it was going to last longer than that. So I thought if I buy some leak detector spray, a lot of you know this, I'm just telling the people that don't know. What happens is you'll see that bubble up if it's leaking. Unfortunately it's not leaking, so that tells me I've used that much gas. So I'll soon need another gas bottle. Let's try the propane just to double check while we're at it. No. We're good there as well. Nope. Turn the bottles back off. We're all good. Like I say, these holes do not line up with these spring hangers, so I'm going to have to throw them in there and see how far out they actually are. I'm going to do that bit off camera because that is just a very tedious job. Bit of backwards and forwards looking, scratching my head. Not only that, I've only just got to the workshop and I need to get a coffee, so I'm going to make a coffee as well. We're now joined by young Harold.
Hello.
who apparently has got trust issues and keeps checking up on me like so. Anyway, what do you think of the progress so far?
I think it's looking good. I mean, it's looking a lot better than what it did the last time I saw it, because the last time I saw it, it was like that. And it was just, well, as you said, you need a tetanus jab. It was just that. And there's just a really nice pile of it over there.
There's a pile there.
And there.
It's everywhere.
It's probably easier just to say where there isn't rust.
Exactly. Well, now on the new bit of chassis, there's no rust. A lot of people are saying I should use these for toolboxes in the workshop. And that is a really good idea.
They would make very good toolboxes.
I'd like that idea, but however, selfishly, you want them back fitted. Imagine all your spanners all in there lined up. That'd be great, wouldn't it?
You'd be giving the Snap-on lorry a run for his money then.
There you go.
And it would probably cost about a quarter of the price.
Well, I don't know. You haven't had the bill through for this yet, so.
Yeah, with a bill through from this, you'd be able to buy a Snap-on franchise.
It's alright, I write all my hours down, so got a nice running cost.
That tally chart of every single hour.
Yes. Every hour you'll hear a noise in the background. It goes, cha-ching. Yeah, I'm happy with progress so far. So, I'm on a winner. You're on a winner. It's just these cross members. I've told the viewers I'm not going to record it because I've got to do a lot of head scratching on what I'm going to do, and they don't want to see me just stood there going.
Well, you could time lapse how many head scratches you do.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to go down the route of an educational channel.
Yes.
I would like, this is what I would like, whether it happens or not, I'm a great believer AI can now replace a lot of office staff.
That's very true.
Correct, right. So you can make a lot of money if you use your hands. So this is a dying art in my eyes. Fabrication, engineering, not as many people getting in the trade. There's more people probably coming out the trade every year than what goes in.
Yeah.
So
I can't have seen ChatGPT doing this.
They can't do that.
No.
So these here, money makers.
Yeah.
So I would like to get the younger generation interested in this. So that's why I'm showing everything. I'm being very educational. I'm being real with it. I'm showing the good, the bad and the ugly side of it.
Yeah.
So they can make a conscious decision if that's what they want to do. But if I can get traction, get eyes in this area of expertise, I love working on trucks. Always have done, always will do. Being very passionate about it. I don't know why I am. It's just one of them things.
Just people like that.
But if you're passionate about a job, you'll always do well in that job.
That is very true.
So this is my passion. That's why I didn't just turn my nose up at this job. I grabbed it by the horns and hemmed in.
Yes.
So
that's exactly what we need and what we want.
That is why I'm being an educational channel.
As well, I've been watching.
There you go.
They are very good.
Make sure you're subscribed. Well done.
Oh, I'm subscribed.
This side of it is going to be a lot of head scratching because when I undo these bolts, that is going to go because it's under tension with a spring.
Yes.
So I've got to try and find a way where that's not going to go.
So what you're saying is at one point today, I've got to stand over there. Right over there. Otherwise I might look like the Dosser car.
I'm alright if you stand there.
I mean to hold the leaf spring in place while you undo it.
Yeah. Sure. No. All about safety here.
Yes.
Got my work boots. Everyone keeps mentioning about my work boots.
Oh, you've even got the steel caps on show to prove.
So let me enlighten you and everyone, mate. So I'll see a comment on last night's video, which is episode 2.
Yeah.
At the time of filming this. Maybe if I was wearing work boots, I wouldn't have broke my foot last time. I was wearing work boots when I broke my foot. I think the reason I broke my foot is because I was wearing work boots because the steel toe cap bent round and it broke across there.
Where it was.
So anyway, that's no excuse. You should always wear work boots, safety boots in this environment. However, I couldn't fit my foot into a boot 2 weeks ago. So when they see me wearing trainers, it's because I didn't really have a choice.
No.
Which doesn't make it right.
It's better than not wearing any shoes at all.
But, yeah, I'll give you that, or sandals.
Yes.
However, I can't fit my foot in my new boots because this foot now is broken. It is wider than it used to be.
Yeah.
But I've managed to squeeze it into my old boot because it's worn. So
That's good. I just thought sandals, you know, and Birkenstocks, you could have Benjamin stocks. And they could be like sandals with steel shields around the front of them. You see them? I'd buy a pair.
educational channel,
Very true.
right? Health and safety at the foremost pinnacle of this channel.
Product ideas.
Yeah. Let's product ideas comes under health and safety, I think.
Even if they're safe ones. That's not.
Yeah.
Oh, you've only got 9%.
I get started. Boom. Well, just puddle welded them up, plug them up, and then relief cuts on there. I need to grind them off flat, but I'm not going to until they cool down, because all you do is overheat your disc and knacker your grinding disc up. So let it cool down and then start grinding. Right, I've got all cross members all drilled out, ready to go. Now, over the chassis, I've got 770mm. So the chassis rails are 8mm thick, so take off 16mm, that gives you 754mm. So, done one of my marvellous sketches on the floor. So 770 over the outside, on the inside 754. 754 is a very crucial measurement, so I've got to set the back up at that and the front there. So if I make sure I weld these up, 754 on that long full rate. So what I'll do now, these are 680, 754, and then we're going to minus 680, which the cross member is. That leaves us 74mm. Then we're going to divide that by 2 equals, so that's 37mm. I'll try and explain this the best I can. So that's going something like that. So the thickness of that as well is 8mm minus 8mm as well. So that's 29mm equals. Let me just make a note of that. So the cross member ends there, and the inside is there, and that wants to be from the inside 29mm. I'm still very old school how I do things. This is how I was taught, and I was being shown drawings on the floor. Used to build bodies off a spec sheet, not one single drawing. All you had was a spec sheet of what the customer required, and you built a body. And everyone's bodies are all the same. Commercial vehicle bodies, this is just so there's no confusion. Because we knew how they should be built, we didn't need drawings back then. But now with type approvals and whatnot, you need drawings, paper trails for everything. But for this, that is just for my eyes, so I know what to set these up at. So that'll be just fine. I do forget I have to create content from time to time, so I get a bit ahead and I think, oh, I ain't recording them. So, I've explained that measurement. So I'm now coming here, making these up to be 754, and that will set the width for the chassis. Perfect. Getting this on there, I then have to make sure it is square, so them ends sit square with the cross member. With the square, I can see a square. If I've got 29mm in there, you need to come here, Harold, here. Need the 29mm in between there, then the extra 8mm, and then that will take me to 754mm overall. Hopefully. Let's cross. Hopefully. So, I'm going to set you up on a time lapse now, and watch me go. And then you'll come back, and I'll be going primer on them.
Am I qualified enough to put the camera on the ladder and drag it into place?
Look, you're going to need your own thing. That is my thing.
Yeah.
That's quite dear to my heart. It's something that's been passed through my family for many generations. You can try it, just as an honorary guest today. But that's it.
I don't know if
Once you leave here, you never do it ever again.
No. Let's give it a ladder drag. About there. We'll have no ladder left after the distance we need to drag it.
The key to this, measure 300 times weld at once.
I will remember that. 300 times weld at once.
Yep. That is beautiful. So I've got to take them bolts out.
Yeah.
But I can see that's going to fit. So I'm going to weld that up so that can be cooling down while making the second one up.
Smart.
I'll leave it so. I'm going to leave it at that setting because that's obviously a lot thinner than that, so I don't want to put too much heat into that. So, whilst I weld this up, I'm going to treat them to a top-down time lapse.
Oh, yes.
Boom. Just give that a little prime up so when I bolt it in, the steel's protected against water. It goes straight to there. That one's going in here, and then that one will go in the back. The time has come to get the cross member in. I've got the back one in, and once again, forgot I was a content creator, so I didn't film it. However, I shall do the front one and walk you through the process because it's exactly the same. So, the bolts that hold the spring hanger in have got to come out. So what I might do, because they're a pig to get in and out, I'll take the nuts off and then I might porta power the front out, slide the cross member in, take the porta power out and then nut and bolt the back. But I have just realised on the back that I need to put longer bolts in because they're not quite long enough, so I'll have to just switch them out one at a time and swap them over and stop that going. Boing! So I'll set you up on the old ladder. You might even get a little ladder drag out of me for it. Try and set you up somewhere. There you go, perfect little ladder drag. Nothing too special. Lovely. There you go.
Look at that view.
Now, them cross members, I've got a few bolts in them, but if you eye through it, you can see this chassis rail is sitting slightly higher on this corner than that corner on that one, and that one's sitting higher than this one. So I'm going to put a straight edge across, clamp it on, do the same at the back, and then I'll eye it through to make sure they're running level. I'll show you when I've got it all set up what I mean by that, because that's a bit confusing. And then if I get them eyed up right, I'll do the bolts up and then that'll hold it all level across there, because I know that's already level because that's factory fit. So that'll be level, and then that should bolt up tight, and then that's ready for push up, getting ready for measuring, tacking, and so on.
Progress is being made.
There you go.
Yes.
We'll soon be mating back up.
I like the fact that you had faith though in the factory fitted equipment on this.
Wow, I've made that to suit this, so I know it's going to go. And this actually does still measure to factory specification. So, as I was trying to explain, we've got straight edge there, straight edge here. They're running square with the chassis, but when you eyeball them through, you'll see that front one is sitting up a good, I'd say, inch or more higher there. So that tells me I've got to jack that corner up till we get these level. Now I've got to block the back end up. So that's in line with that cross member. That's in line with that cross member. And then as you can see, spot on. Just remind me, Harold, put that pin back in there. Completely forgotten about that.
Don't forget to put that pin back in there.
Yeah. Right, I'm just about ready to get this shoved up here, which is exactly where I said I want it to be by the end of today. And it is the end of the day. What didn't you remind me to do, Harry?
That pin.
That pin. So I've now got to put the pin in that Harry was going to remind me and just decided not to. Sabotage. I don't think he likes that I'm getting on so well. So when I lift the weight like this, if you get this bit of steel there.
Yeah, got it.
Sure do.
Mate, I'm looking forward to seeing it all joined up.
Push on this wheel here.
This one?
Yeah. No, I'll be a big strong frame for you. You see that's touching there, this side got a gap, and then when we eye it down you'll see the chassis rail, which has got a kink in it, so it looks a lot worse than it actually is, but I can see the back end of the chassis, this bit here should be here. I can measure off of all that. So I'm going to just strap it together for now. Brackets mounted back on. I've still got to make a new bracket for that rusty thing, but all the bolts are rusted in there, so it's not easy. But I'm not too fussed about that in a minute, but I did say I wanted this chassis pushed up to here, and we're there. So I've got a lot of measurements to do, marking, double checking, going over it again and again and again. I'm pleased with my progress. It's gone extremely well. My plan today, get this welded up and also weld it up in the correct position, which is no easy feat. Centre point of the front spring hangers, not the back one, because they could sit slightly one way or the other. So I'll square a line from there across the centre of that flange, and then just to give me a bit more teddy, I shall measure down at a set distance around here somewhere, and I'll see if these back ends are in the right place. They should be, because I measured them all up. And then I'll go centre line of that width, dot punch a hole, dot punch a hole, and then because I took a datum from that point before I cut it, if you remember, I'm going to hook the tape measure in there, take it back to there to make sure they're the same measurements both sides. Then once I'm sure they're right, I've then got a square across, crisscross across the chassis to make sure that that is sitting in line. It will be spot on. That is the way I have to do it. Once I've got all that in place, I've then got to make sure we're running correct that way. Now, I don't know if I've got a string line where I can clamp it on here, clamp it on there, and I can see the gap. If not, I've got to use a straight edge, which means I'll have to just, well, no matter what, I'm going to have to just run a sand or something over the top of that, smooth that off. But then, yeah, the longer the straight edge I can get, the better that's going to be. And then I have to square across the joint. I'll show you on the other side because that's in nearly the right position. So see, that's at different height at the minute, so that'll be up there at the same height as that, and then put a square across there, get them in line, get a tack there, and then once I'm happy with a straight edge across the top, square across there, tack on there, and then many tacks up there. Do the same the other side. Now just tacking down there, that will hold it at the correct height looking at the chassis that way, but that still gives me movement to move the chassis side to side. So because I haven't tacked the flanges yet, I can still move it that way. So that's where crisscross across with a tape measure, and if the lengths are exactly the same, then that measurement has to be exactly the same as each other. Once that's exactly the same, you know that's going to be running true, or as true as it was before it was cut in half. Looking at it, I think I've got to go, yeah, I've got to go that way. Once that's square that way, I can then tack along, make sure it's at the same height there, and then I can tack, same underneath, tack, but all the time with a square, making sure that the flitch is sat in the right location with the existing one. Do the same the other side. Once she's tacked up, she is about ready to weld up. Now there is certain ways I do it, weld up. I'll try and take heat out of the equation if I can. So I'll put probably 1 inch stitch there, 1 inch stitch there, same but the other side, and then I'll probably blast a hot weld across there and then do the same at the bottom. Once I've blasted them top and bottom welds in, I'll come back, crisscross it, make sure before I do the main weld up there, do the weld on the insides, and then I've got the horrible job of grinding all that off. And I say a horrible job, I hate it. You get hot, you get bothered, you get sweaty, and then you've got grinding dust just covering you, so you sweat on your face, just gets grinding dust stuck to it everywhere. It's not very nice. I have to go on time lapse while I keep measuring everything, because it is going to take so long, and I might do one of my high up down time lapses. I'll be honest, it's not been easy with me. So I clamp the angle on the bottom just to get it sitting roughly in line with that. Then I'll put the chain on it, because this end had to be pulled in 10mm. That side was touching, so that was alright, but this side pulled it in with a chain to get it closer. I've got the porta power under there because the front was sitting slightly down. I had to move the back end over that way, because when I squared it, it was a long way off over that way. I've got it within 1mm of square, still got to move it 1/2 mil just to get it bang on. So this is what I've done Centre of this spring hanger, line across, 40mm in, dot punch. Same there. And then I've measured back because I did have that measurement before I stripped this axle off. Falls there, that's in line with the centre of that. I'll make sure the axle is square to the chassis. If I go from here to there to there to here, but then if I go from here to that front cross member on the old bit of chassis, from then the other side to here, and that's square, that all ties in. That tells me the axle is square to the chassis, and the chassis, back bit of chassis is square to the front bit of chassis, and the front bit of chassis should be square to the front axle, because that is factory and I've not touched that. This side's got to go in 3mm, which that gap, I don't know if you see it, yeah, that gap is about 3mm, but it's not sitting quite right at the top. Now that side is near enough bang on where it needs to be. So my plan is, just so you can see what I'm doing, straight edge across here with a longer straight edge than that. Make sure it's right there, top to bottom, and then I'm going to put some nice tacks down here. And then that side I can start lifting up and then pull it in. But if I get this side right first, I think that's going to be the winning option, because what I'm currently doing is fighting against myself continuously. So I'll get this side right, then I go that side. I did have 2 tape measures going from there to here, from there to there, and there and there. Not keen on that. I always like to use one tape measure because they can vary, believe it or not. On the end of this tape measure, that end moves. So you push it up to something or you pull on something, it takes up that leniency. What's to say this tape measure is very worn, so you've got maybe 4mm of play on the end there. And then this nice shiny brand new one that I got in my pocket has got 1mm of play on it. So that's already put that 3mm out. So what I do to compensate for that, I clamp it the 100mm. Some people would say 10 centimetres, but I'm in millimetres. So it's 100mm I put on my centre dot. That's where I'm measuring from. So that takes out the end there where it could be slightly skew with. However, sometimes if I hook them on there, wow, that old one reads 1.5mm longer than the new one. So that's probably down to the wear on the end. So that's something you've got to be careful of. 1.5mm worth different there. Over 200mm that was. I think I've waffled on long enough about tape measures. But just letting you know, I always try and use the same tape measure for all my measurements, so I know that I can't get it too far out if I'm using the same tape measure. Like I say, I'm using the same tape measure that I did before I cut it, so I know everything is hunky-dory. So I've got to jack the front of the chassis up, as you can see by the gap under that straight edge there, which disappears there. That's actually quite good in line there, but this way, slightly out. So I've got to clamp the top there, and I can see Timmy boy.
Hello, content creator. Is it? Oh, welded up?
No. Right, that's Timbo gone. It's just a flying visit from him. I'll show you what I'm doing. This has been an absolute pig to join back up. I think it's because I'm joining to an older chassis. Well, I've got 2 older chassis, so it's proving a little bit difficult to do, but I'll keep persevering. I've got the height between them good, and I've got that good there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little stitchy tack on there, and then I can move the clamps out of the way, bring them to the bottom. I can make sure the chassis is sitting nice and tight. And then I'll just put a little tack weld at the top there. Might even do a little little stitch. Lovely. Back end's just got to go up a fraction. Just got to go up a fraction. So now if we look along that straight edge, you'll see she's good all the way along. Yep. 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 So I now know I can tack all the way up here. Better give it one of these. So I took that out, that didn't move whatsoever. We'll call this ladder cam. Sometimes you'll see me just pointing at random stuff. That's me eyeballing the camera to make sure you can see. Like I can now see there was a ladder in the way. But where I'm working, sometimes I have to have a feel around. So I can see my hand. Oh right, there you go. I'm going to be working just there. Yep, I can see my hand. Makes sense in my head. I'll get a rough square up now. One metre 822. Behave. Well, I never. 1 metre 822.5. So the measurement I got across that diagonal from there to here, 1 metre 822, and on the opposite diagonal, 1 metre 822.5. So that's half a mil out. So I think the time I jack this chassis up here, that'll open a gap there and close that gap. Bring that in, straight edge it. I think we'll be spot on. Just let that tack cool down, because if I let it off too early it'll still be too hot and soft, and chances are I'll let that off early and it just, because the tack's still soft, it will stretch it out or snap. So I'll let that cool down, let it fully harden up. I don't know if you can see, it looks like it's at a different, you can just see here this gap. So I was trying to set it up so it's touching here and there. But it wasn't until I moved out here I realised that is tight there, tight all the way along, and it is actually where the steel's a little bit thinner there on that edge. So I was trying to set it up, but it was going to be impossible to set it up that way because the steel is actually thin there on that bit. Oh, it's a warm day again today. I just want to weld round here, inside and outside, get all that ground off, and then prime it. And then I can get my infills in, my chassis infills, inserts, strengthen all that up, bolt it all through. Then I can top coat everything, give it a good bit of top coat. I'd like to needle scale all these springs as well and do them, just so it looks quite half presentable underneath. If an MOT tester goes underneath there and he sees there the indications of corrosion, well, it's going to stump him because he's going to have a decent chassis on it now, but then flaky leaf springs, but I've looked closely at leaf springs. They look all right to me actually. It's just surface rust that just wants chipping off, but they've got no signs of fatigue or stress fractures in them. What I'll do now then is I want to get all the jacks out, all port power front jacks. Where I've tacked on the outside, I'll go on the inside and I'll weld all the way up, do the same on there, and then from the top and the bottom I'll do a big bead. What I'll do is I'll put a root run in, and then I'm going to cap over the whole lot, do the outsides, and then I can do the insides afterwards. I'm going to put a fat root run in there, and then I'm going to cap right over the top, so the cap is actually on the flat and the flat, because when I grind this down smooth, I want that top, because I'm going to have it quite hot so it bites in the material. Took all the supports out. She seems to be holding level, so I'm happy with that. I've just squared it, still square, happy day. Now I've just clamped the flange like that. See if I get a good perspective of this. So tight under there, but it's got a low point just there. I'll put a tack on there, and then I'll clamp the bottom, do the same there, put a tack on there, and then I'd like to put a nice fat weld in there and underneath, and I've got to build it up, weld and grind it, and it takes a lot of grinding. 4.5 inch grinding disc is, yes, you keep it as flat as possible, happy days, but if you tilt that up slightly, that is obviously a smaller radius than what a 7 inch is, and you'll end up sanding it and you won't realise, but that will leave a little, I feel another drawing coming on the floor, so you're going to love this. Existing front chassis, and this is the new back chassis, and this is the joint. So on here we've beveled this at an angle like so, and then so this is the view of, as you look at that chassis, looking straight at the side. So this is the top of the chassis, this is the bottom, and this is the front face as you look at it. So I've beveled the top, and then I'll put a root weld in there, and then I'll cap it off like that. So if you use a 4.5 inch disc, what you effectively, as soon as you tilt that up slightly, so you've welded it, you've ground it, as soon as you tilt it up, you end up with a small little trough in there, let's call it, and you won't realise. And that is literally just lifting your flap disc like that, and that'll put a little trough in, and then doing down there, that'll do exactly the same. So you want to try and avoid that at all costs. That just means when I grind it up, I have to be really careful. I have to have the disc flat and not be impatient, because you do tend to change the steepness of your angle when you get impatient with it, so it cuts in a bit deeper. But I can't find, should I say, the 7 inch flat disc. Because I can't find it, I'm just going to have to be really careful. So I'm going to set you up. I have to be careful when welding, because the spatter, if it hits the lens, game over. Little tip for when you're welding near air pipes: if you drain all the air out of the system, they're less likely to have burn throughs on your pipe. Obviously, always cover them up. What it is, when they're full of air pressure and then they get a hot bit of spatter go near them, obviously with the air pushing out, this easily leaks. But have found, drain all the air out of the system, which I've done this, but not for that reason, and then you get less leaks. So there's today's tip for you. Just a little tack to build that front face up and to hold it nice and strong. And then I'm going to blast one in. So you can sort of see here's all right, but then that bit's lower than that bit, which is that bit I showed you with the square. So I've got to build that up. So I'll have to put a nice fat weld in there. Probably might have to put a couple of welds in there so I can get a nice bit for smoothing. But my plan is to do that on there, that top, the bottom, and this bottom. Just thought I do need to be mindful of flashing images. Probably should have done that little warning before welding. Welded underneath, welded on top. I'll do the same that side. Let that cool down, and then I'll do my welds up inside. I hope you're enjoying these videos. It's surprised me how many people are enjoying them, which is good for me because that has given me the motivation to keep doing it. If I can teach someone something new every video, just one person, that's enough for me to keep going. Like I say, I do feel this trade is dying out and there's not as much interest in it anymore, and I'd like to change that. I think it's a great trade to be in. Working on trucks, everything you can see in front of you has been on a truck in some time in its life. That plywood has been on a lorry, that was a lorry, that whiteboard, that's been on a lorry to be delivered, that clock, that would have been on it. Everything, absolutely everything. That car, that would have been on a transporter at one stage. That lorry, that comes in on the back of a lorry when it comes in the country. So it goes from the docks to wherever on the back of a truck transporter. So literally everything you see involves a lorry. So there'll always be lorries on the road. And as I said previously, AI can replace someone in an office, but AI can't replace this sort of work. Not at this stage it can't anyway, but I won't ever see it in my lifetime, I can assure you of that one. So it is a trade, and because there's a shortage of skilled work in the UK at the minute on this sort of thing, the old money's creeping up. If you are skilled in it, the money now is a lot better than it used to be when I first joined it. So it's a good trade to be in. And then if you're passionate about it, I am a strong believer in, if you're passionate about your job, no matter what it is, the money aspect of it will find you eventually, because you will work harder than anyone else because you care about what you're doing. I care about what I'm doing. I love this sort of work. I love seeing the outcome of it. I love someone coming to me with a problem saying, let's take Ant for instance. What would he have possibly have done in that situation? Now, he did tell me he'd phoned round a couple of people and no one would even entertain it. I understand why. So that means that truck was going to the scrapyard. There's no ifs, buts, maybes about it. Just gone off on a side quest again. I'll do this quite a lot. But it's good because I now feel comfortable talking to the camera because I don't see the camera anymore. I feel as though I'm talking to each and every one of you. I'm really enjoying doing these videos, and like I say, as long as it's bringing a interest into the trade or putting more eyes on the trade, that's what I like. Tim done it with his trucks. I want to do it with this side of things like this. You know, that is my baby. You know, I've never really done a good project before, but that is my thing, and I'm lucky enough to, I sort of had a bit of free rein on what I wanted to do, and that doesn't happen very often. So when you do, you tend to go a bit wild. I mean, you look down there. So the FHV8 will be getting started again once the fire engine's done. Now, please leave a like and a comment, because that helps the videos. And if it helps the videos, push it out to as many eyes as possible. I like that. And my last video went out, episode 2. I managed to, that went out on a Thursday, and to Sunday night, I managed to put a comment back to every comment that was left. Now, I'm not saying I will do that, but I will try and do that, because obviously I like to know that what I'm doing is worthwhile. So it's good to see the feedback from you guys. And then also, there's a little rumour going around that's coming back down. What's better send Timmy boy a message. He is not gonna be happy. Drop the boo-boo, Timmy boy. Apparently, ladder drags aren't the way to go anymore. Can't believe it. There's a couple of little marks where I could probably sand in, but I don't want to risk digging in the chassis. So I'd rather put more weld on. It's literally just a few spot welds. I'd rather do that than risk digging in the chassis if I can. Little warning, there probably will be flashing images coming up, so if you're sensitive for that, close your eyes. Also, when you're going to weld, make sure you switch your welder on as well. That always helps. There's another top tip for you. Right, I've got them sanded up. It's near home time for me. But I've still got to sand the inside up and the underside, but I'm just going to put a coat of primer on here, because the more coats I can get on there the better, because that older chassis at the front is pitted. It's almost like, can't see if you see it or not because I've dropped the GoPro and broke the back screen, but it's pitted it like a golf ball, all dimpled up. So the more primer I can get in there to level it off as such, the better. So I'll just keep putting little coats on here where I've already ground up. So far, so good. She is looking good. I've got it all primered, you probably see that, but sanded up, done. Got the bit of inner flitching. Got to cut that down, but that'll probably be on the next episode now. So I think this is a good place to leave this episode. I've got it all cut off, new one made, put on, welded on, job done. So next episode I can work on strengthening adding on brackets, air bottles, repiping, running all the electrics into the box, and then get a top coated, and then we can focus on getting the boxes back on the side. We won't be long then, once that's painted, we won't be long before that is ready to go back to truck and sands. Quite happy with how it's going so far. Join me next time where hopefully this will get probably top coated then, I think. Thanks for watching. See you next time.